Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome you to my presentation today. I'm going to provide some guidelines to prepare presentation slides for proposal defense. Normally, students will struggle to prepare an attractive, innovative, and creative slides for proposal defense. When we prepare the slides, we have to ensure that we know exactly what needs to be highlighted. Slide got to be attractive and convincing so the panel understand your level of maturity, your level in terms of understanding and comprehension of the area of research. Today, I'm going to show you or present to you two sample presentation slides prepared by two PhD students. Both of them have completed their PhD study and working now. I have been chairing a lot of proposal defense final viva sessions. I've been attending sessions as internal and external examiner. These two student slides to me were two of the few very good ones. And I thought it worth sharing so that it become helpful for you to prepare your own presentation slides. The most challenging question to students should be always, what should I present? What should I not present? Usually your proposal defense draft should be 100 pages to 200 pages long. And you really need to know what are the contents that got to be highlighted and presented during your proposal defense. Please always remember that you have submitted a draft. The panel members who are going to attend your presentation session have already read your full draft, and in most cases, line by line. Therefore, you have to understand that you do not really need to present everything because they have read everything there being written in the draft. Many of my students prepared the slides and came to see me, and I found that it's like 30, 40 pages long. And when I tell them this slide should be dropped, this slide should be dropped, and the student started arguing, Prof, this is very important. Why you ask me to drop it? I say, yes, it is important, but not very important. You got to present only those are very important. Of course, everything written in your draft are important. And that's why you have put them in the draft. But you must know the contents that got to be highlighted during the presentation. So let me share with you two very good creative slides prepared by students. The first one, a student has done a study on CACR. She has looked into external and internal factors of organization and its effect on CACR. And the student highlighted our contribution as moderating, looking at effect of industry sector and country of origin. If you look at the outline, presentation outline, you may see now this particular student doesn't have literature review section in the presentation. And then the scope of the study is presented after the framework and the significance of the study, which is in chapter 1, but presented at the end of the presentation. So she has started with introduction, giving two good citation, the key studies in the area, and she has her own inference, slowly introducing her storyline of her thesis. I always say thesis is basically telling and selling your stories. So this is her introduction, and in background, she has successfully established her case by giving reference to global and local issues. A very simple slide, but it speaks a lot. And you can see it here that our research questions are very straightforward. internal and external factors. She have many independent variable there, but she put it in one research question. And she highlighted more on moderating variable because that's her contribution. And this is our research objectives. Please make sure you do remember to synchronize, align research questions and research objectives. I have seen students having 10, 15 research questions. Every independent variable and dependent variable, the student got a research question, which is very upset to me. That's not the correct way of doing it. You may put it factors together in one research question and highlight more where you are going to contribute in your research. This is the student claimed that the study in this area suffers from mitigation. Most of the study either concentrated on macro institutional factors or meso or organizational factors or micro individual factors. This student with proper citation, you see the many citations there, claim that there's no study integrated three factors together. So there is a gap there, and she claimed she is going to fill up the gap by integrating three factors together in a model. And she has shown the three factors together as integration. And she has definitely have cited some citation there. And then she continued with research problem with citing number of key studies references to establish her case of moderating variable. And she continued establishing another moderating variable case there. And she continues, with another moderating variable. So that's what I was saying. You must know where to highlight, because this study contributes with respect to moderating variable, not about independent variable. So in a research problem itself, she is bringing all the literature, citation, references together to establish her case. And that's the reason this particular student does not have any literature review section in a presentation slide, because she has taken all literature and put them in the literature research problem identification and definition section. All right, so we continue, and she has also brought a theory that support her study. And again, you can see she has cited so many references here to establish a case that in her CSER reporting study, this theory needs to be validated for our study. And she continued with research gap in terms of methodology. She claims that most of the study are incomplete, and she claims most of the study adopted qualitative approach, interview and all that. And she tried to show that there is a gap, and she is going to use a different way of methodology to establish a case and fill up the research gap. And she continued with global and regional gap. She has cited again many study findings globally and then regionally. And finally, she came back to her context, a developing country. And she's trying to say that in her country or context, this kind of study has not been done. And she's going to fill up the gap by doing this study. And once she has identified, defined, and proven the research problem and the research gap, then she proposed the theoretical framework. She has independent variable, moderating, and dependent variable. This particular student didn't want to put hypothesis statement. The reason is it is already there in the draft, and even looking at the framework, panel members would know what are the hypotheses could be there. All right. So, but again, if you would like to put it in one slide, there's no harm doing that. And she has then presented the scope after the theoretical framework, and she has presented in 3 paragraphs the knowledge scope, methodological scope, and the contextual scope. And she has also a very simple slide on research methodology. She talked about deductive approach, talking about quantitative method, content analysis. She's talking about secondary data and the data sources. And finally, she is now talking about significance of the study. So she is now proving that this study is going to contribute in terms of empirically, in terms of theoretically, methodologically, and regionally. And that's how she ended up her slides. So we have to understand that it is not about highlighting a lot of literature under the literature review section, talking about long story of hypothesis construction. All are not really necessary. Even I have seen slides where background of study, the student have 4 or 5 slides It's not really necessary. What you need to highlight in your presentation slide is the research problem and then your contribution. Let me proceed to another sample. This is a study done on the farm value. This student look at financial and business risks and its effects on farm value. And again, this student contribution is on moderating variable of financial innovation. If you look at the presentation slide, this student has a bit different slide. She has literature review, he has literature review section, and at the end, he has his methodology and his model specification. So this student definitely started with his storyline, establishing his stories, continues with global and local perspective, citations are there, and then the student came back to the context, showing the problem persists in the context itself by giving relevant data. And he continues with citation and definitely more citation to establish his case in terms of research issues and research problem. The student continue giving some data from context to prove that there is a study warranted in this area. And he continues giving that data to establish his case, and then continues giving data to establish his case. It's a very good way of showing, the problem that persists in the context itself. And then he summarized the practical issues and the literature issues in terms of his study with regards to research problem. You can see again, research questions are there and research objectives are there. As you remember, I said that these two must be synchronized, must be aligned, and this student has done a very good job doing that and putting that in one slide. And then he continues with significance of the study, and he summarized all the literature review in simple one table, showing the key studies and their findings. And here he proves where he has chosen these factors and independent and moderating variable. And then he proposes his framework. He continued with hypothesis statement. There's nothing wrong. Even I don't think that you should put it there. Basically, the panel members have the copy and they can see that this student continue with measurement of each variable, which is very important because the student is using the panel data approach. And he continued with the data source and data collection method. He started talking about why panel data approach is being used. And finally, this student has provided his models, the model specification, his model with independent and dependent, and then inclusion with the moderating variable. So I have shared two good slides, and I hope that these two slides will shed some lights on how can you prepare good slides for proposal defense. I am very hopeful that you will have good takeaways from these short videos. And I would like to invite you to watch my next video on guidelines to prepare presentation slides for final Viva essay. Thank you very much.